So the flexors can be worked with all of these tools we've been working all weekend with our hands. So certainly we can come in and work with a fist and that fifth metacarpal. Depending on your table height, you may be more comfortable standing or sitting. 6 of one, half dozen of the other, just depending. So I will push up. I have no trouble going towards the hands. A lot of people who are trained with Swedish think it's terrible to push and drag away from the heart. Well, some people, they push back towards the heart and they're really focused on that. And if you were trying to like drain a varicose vein, you would need to do that because there's one-way valves, but you're not going to rupture those one-way valves pressing and pushing the other direction. The Chinese have been pushing everything to the fingertips and toe tips for thousands of years. They don't have a whole lot of problems with it. So I do like to do some palm pressing. Pisiform does the bulk of it, starting up right at that medial epicondyle. So I'm going to be placing my thumb on the medial epicondyle and pushing down, and I'll push all the way down and out the palm. So I'll split the fingers and do a little bit of that back and forth. I got right in the way of the camera, I know. But just for this one technique, it's the secret one that the YouTubes can't know about. Don't let the Google know. The Google knows all. Simple and easy to press down. That's a really good one at the very end, or at the very beginning, honestly. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. My preferred method to work flexors is my elbow. I like to come in and find those tight spots. Most of us body workers overuse our forearm flexors, so there's a plethora of them to choose from. So just let me know if it's too strong in here. I like my hand on their wrist or hand because if it tightens up, if they have that armor response, you'll feel it with your other hand as well. Get a good sense. And that can be done static, or you can drag along the fibers or across the fibers, just depending on what feels good to them and or you. Though what feels good to them takes precedence, of course. You're like, I think this is great. And they're like, oh, stop. No, it feels good to me. If it's too pointy with the olecranon, that way you can roll the arm and make it flatter. So you're pressing with more of that distal blade of the ulna. Work down or up, you know, take your pick. The muscle doesn't care which way you squash it. You can do the finger grasping where your thumb is not involved, either on the whole flexor compartment with one hand or with that 4 fingers to 4 fingers compressing between the two. Just remember, you don't want to help their forearms by hurting yours. Try to spread that wear and tear out. The pisiform is fair game in this position as well. This table is too low for me to stand and a little too high for me to sit, but you know.
I don't know what your baby bear it. This table's too high.
It's just part of my commercial for a lift table.
That's right.
If you ever felt like this table was a little too high, but also a little too low,
Could we raise your seat?
we could, but I'm not going to be here long enough to worry about it, just demoing. I'll just get my curly Q shoulder going, curve myself like a question mark. All right. Working on the palm, my preferred tools for the thumb muscles, which are some of the more commonly injured in us body workers, are generally going to be that second finger pip joint. Adductor pollicis and flexor pollicis brevis are the big ones we injure in here. Obviously, we also have flexor pollis longus and extensor pollicis longus back here, but these little short guys often get overworked. We also see them injured in people who type and text way too much on phones. So I'm going to take that second pip joint, come right in along the metacarpal of the thumb and work right through there. Get adductor pollicis, flexor pollicis brevis, and opponens pollis all in one area. Just like that. A lot of times I will try to gently stretch the thumb back with this hand, come in and work. If that's hard on your thumb, don't try to use your thumb to do it. Try to supinate the whole forearm. That way you're going to use your bicep, which is a big, strong muscle, and not your own thumb muscles. If that's still not comfortable, grab it and pull it back with your other hand this way. It's easier if you have a wide enough table to keep their hand on it in that position. I have relatively large hands, large enough that I can usually do it here. If they have really big hands and you have really small hands, you can get away with all 4 pip joints coming in and working that whole thumb region at once. It's another nice way to work. I try to avoid too much compression right over the carpal tunnel. Light work can feel good, so that is actually one of the few areas that I think hands, or thumbs rather, are actually one of the better tools, because I'm not working with heavy pressure. I'm just gently rubbing. I like to do circles or gently stretch it apart. The reality is, if they have carpal tunnel, there's already not enough space here, and squashing it doesn't create space. It does the opposite. So don't get in there and dig with your elbow for people with carpal tunnel. That's the wrong approach. If you want to work in the palm with your elbow, that's fair game, and you can actually work those small thumb muscles in most people with the olecranon process here as well. Just, don't crush the metacarpal bones. Pay some attention to your pressure. Get in there and work. Too much? Another nice technique for the palm is to trace those flexor tendons just like we did in the foot. You can certainly do this with your thumb, but trying to minimize thumb use. So I tend to use my fingertips and do the same thing. So I'm gently extending the digit, finding the head of that metacarpal where the tendon runs over it, and pressing in and tracking towards the carpal tunnel with those fingers. I usually make 2 or 3 passes on each tendon if I'm doing that. And I'll gently extend the next one, come in and work. We have sensor cells in tendons that change the tension of the muscle and the tendon itself, autonomically, not under our voluntary control. So straining and stressing those gently can help to change the tension levels in those muscles and tendons. And work our way down. We'll hit his pinky so he's consistent. You've got all of them. If you're dealing with a trigger finger case, which is pretty common, you're going to be treating the inside crease for the pip joint. That area is tiny on most people, and trying to get in with any bigger tool than your fingertips is just about impossible. So it's okay to use some fingers. You're not going to be doing heavy pressure. You're just going to be gently strumming the tendons, right? There's 3 of them. The split tendon for extensor flexor, rather, digitorum superficialis, and the profundus tendon that comes out to here runs through there. So by running across that joint space, you're going to be strumming all 3 of those back and forth. Also, you're going to be wanting to work those up here like we've already talked about.